let's get our Facebook folks in here. Make sure I'm not clicking any Colts channels.
Mhm.
One day I will. One day I will. Boom and boom. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday morning. Happy Labor Day, everyone. No labor rest here. It is time for an episode of Building our Broncos for Breakfast. See, my mind isn't even there yet. I'm still Midwest time. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, for these morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, it's good to see you again. I feel like we just were talking.
Yeah, we were, but it also feels like I hadn't seen you in a while. Sometimes these weekends, after we do like 9 consecutive shows, we're like the middle of your week guys. We're not the
Yeah.
weekend guys. We're the ones that'll get you through the week, and then we go and play on the weekends. Doing outdoor stuff. We're both very outdoors folks, but it feels strange. But this Monday to me is football week, or is it Tuesday? Because this is the end of the week. For Monday Night Football typically is the last game of the week. So for me though, it's still football week. I don't care.
Yeah. No, it's definitely football week. I'm still buzzing from the college football this weekend outside of the Hawkeyes offense, which we already kind of talked about a little bit, but my God. I saw the Iowa quarterback had a quarterback rating of 1.1. I didn't even know you could do that. But
remember, you hear me say sometimes, Nick, statistically impossible.
Yeah,
that's like a 0 on the SAT. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a 0 on the SAT. It's as hard to get a 0 as it is to get a perfect score.
Yep.
So
not good.
That's tough.
Yep. Down to 2 scholarship wide receivers. Your tight end gets injured. Your offensive line's not getting a push, and your quarterback's struggling. It's a recipe for pain. The Iowa offense, special teams and defense, I truly believe is good enough to be a top 5 team in football, but the offense literally might finish bottom 5 in all of college football, which is going to kill you. And all I got to say is thank you, George Payton. Thank you, Russell Wilson, because if I had to go through another year of anemic, pathetic, craptastic offense in Denver after watching the Hawkeyes on Saturday, I might have legitimately lost my mind or popped a blood vessel in my eye. I don't know.
1998 Auburn Tigers, 3 and out on offense I'd consider that a win. A 3 and out and a 45-yard punt. I'm like, good. The defense was really good, but they finished 3 and 8 because eventually, as you know, Broncos fans, the defense is gonna break. The offense is gonna make a mistake. You lose heart. It's like, we got to go out again, or another turnover, or it's 4th and 20 again. So it's you've got to have that balance in there for sure, and that's just a football universal truth.
Yep. You can't be so bad at one side of the ball. Let's say hello to some folks in here. We got With First No Fear coming in over on YouTube saying, good morning, Nick and Scott and all of Broncos country. Football week is here. Absolutely. A week from today, Broncos Monday Night Football will be awesome. Question, who are the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL right now? This is always really hard to do when you don't have a list directly in front of you, but I will give it a whirl. Jalen Ramsey is definitely one of them, and I'm going to forget somebody. Just let's add that in there. I'm definitely going to forget someone. Jalen Ramsey, this is not also in order. AJ Terrell, Denzel Ward, JC Jackson, Patrick Surtain, Tre'Davious White, Marshawn Lattimore. Running out of steam here pretty quickly here. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but those are the ones that come to mind immediately for me.
I don't know the other teams well enough. I will know of the teams that I watch. Pat Surtain is in there, and AJ Terrell is in there. Those are 2 young guys. I think AJ is 23, and he may have just turned 24, but he's still young. And Pat Surtain is young. So those are 2 of the next, the up and coming group that's coming out. And of the old guard, is Stephon Gilmore even close anymore?
Kind of fell off some.
Yeah, he's not getting paid like he is. That's for sure. No. But again, two young, exciting players to watch for for both of those teams.
And I forgot J.R. Alexander, who is incredible for the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay might have the best defense in football this year, which is typically not what you say about them. But Marlon Humphrey deserves a shout out for Baltimore. Xavier Howard for the Dolphins as well. After that, though, I'm Darius Slay. But then I'm going to go Patrick Surtain. I'm not really a big Trevon Diggs guy myself. So good question. Getting us off here, getting those juices flowing in the morning. Kevin Gray coming in over on YouTube saying 7 days to the real deal. Hi, Scott and Nick and Broncos country. How do you think the middle of the D will do stopping the run? I think the middle of the D for the Broncos, front seven, and you need to include edge rushers in this as well because they were horrible at stopping the run at the edge last season. Let's just lump the entire front seven together. I think they're hopefully going to be about league average. I'm very concerned about the depth of and the quality on the interior defensive line for run stopping after DJ Jones. I don't know how Mike Purcell is going to look this year. I don't think that Draymond Jones or Deshaun Williams' best traits are clogging run lanes. They're much more small, agile type of interior defensive linemen. So luckily for the Broncos, the first 2 weeks, I'm not super duper impressed with the running personnel. Now it's week 1, things can change, but the running personnel for the Seahawks or the Texans, I do really like Dameon Pierce, but I don't think the Texans passing game is going to lend itself to space, and the offensive line still has work. But first 2 weeks, I'm not really concerned about that. Week 3, when the Broncos go up against Kyle Shanahan's West Coast offense with Trey Lance, who can probably be a bigger, faster, stronger version of what Jalen Hurts did to you last year. We'll find out week 3, I guess is how to put it. But on paper, it's definitely a concern.
Yeah. First 2 weeks, I just looked up Seattle. You should be able to hold up against Seattle. We haven't seen DJ Jones yet in the middle. And when he came in, they were talking about playing him in the middle of the line, 3 or nose. Is that going to be his best spot? As a 4-3 defensive tackle, I like him. Can he hold up in a 1st and 10 or short yardage when you need a stop against a run? We don't know for sure. That's kind of one of those questions we have out there, but I think they'll be okay against Seattle. They're not a grinded out. They're on offense. Their 2 best players are wide receivers, and that doesn't matter if you can't get them the ball. And you got to be able to run the ball, protect your quarterback, and then make an accurate throw. And I'm not sure that they can do any of those 3.
Yep. Yeah, just ask Colorado fans. I know it's a passing league, and the NFL has gone to passing, but if you are absolutely ass-kicked on the ground, you're going to lose football games. And seeing Colorado, I think, gave up 9 yards a carry to TCU or something like that, and lost the yardage total on the ground by like 120 or something. You're going to get absolutely smoked, even if the other stats look okay. Dave Glassman coming in with the hearts. Thank you so much, Dave. We got Ethan back in the UK. I'll believe it when I see it. No, good to hear that, Ethan, saying good afternoon back in the USSR. No, he's back in the UK. And good morning or good afternoon to Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. Doug Freeland in here. Good morning, guys. How about that Iowa game? 2 safeties and a field goal. Unbelievable. Iowa's got some defensive prospects that I'm going to be excited to talk about this year when the time comes for that. They really do have a very loaded defense, but
I think I did. It was actually, I think it may have been Cam Newton's year with the Auburn Tigers before he started throwing the ball. I think they had a 5-3 game. It might not have been that one. Might have been book on either side, but I think they had a 5-3 game against Mississippi State.
Well, some stats here for you, just because I'm a masochist on this and I can't really give it up yet. This was the Iowa was the only team this week to win and not score an offensive touchdown. Classic Iowa. And this was the first time a Big Ten team had not scored a touchdown in one since, you guessed it, Iowa in 2008 when they beat Penn State 6-4. Man, what a life. Dave Glassman, we have Dave already. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, he came in kicking us off, breaking the ice on the stars on Facebook. So thank you, Dave.
Oh, was it not this one?
It is that one. I
okay.
Saw the other one first.
Okay, it's all good. I was like, we have stars on YouTube. Woohoo! No, Nick D coming in saying who's close to their contract ending. We'll get to that in just a second, Nick. But there's a good bit of players. We can go over the salary cap as well. But an easy way to think about this, just as a little appetizer for you or a prologue, is draft classes. You want to think about draft classes. So who was drafted 4 years ago / first round picks who were drafted 5 years ago. And that's typically the next in line guys to get paid, because the free agents that you signed typically are going to be third contract guys. And then you want to be a little bit trepidatious about signing those third contract guys. Dom also coming in saying, how do you feel about the cornerback we got from the Bengals? Will he be a good fit with PS2 on the other side of the cornerbacks, Denver Broncos for life? I'm going to be completely honest with you. Who's the cornerback the Broncos got from the Bengals? I totally
end of last week, and it's kind of a depth guy. It wasn't a name that, again, I haven't committed him to memory yet either. Zach Kellerman had the article on milehighhuddle.com, and it was just kind of like, yeah, here's a guy.
Well, was it Darius Phillips? Yes, Darius Phillips. Okay, I remember him. Western Michigan cornerback, pretty good out there. Played opposite of another good cornerback at Western Michigan, but Darius Phillips, he had a game against Western Michigan, went into Michigan State, and he had like 2 kick returns or punt returns for a touchdown, and making a lot of plays on the ball. A little bit small, not really the best length at the position, but has some special team / cornerback versatility. So cool to see Darius Phillips sign. I definitely liked him in the draft coming out that year. I think he was drafted about in the 5th round, which makes sense for his talent. So maybe a guy that I feel better about him than a lot of the cornerbacks the Broncos had on their roster. So good to see. And the Bengals, man, they went hard after that secondary this year. So that's maybe a position where you should be a little bit excited about that one, just as a depth guy. I'm not saying he's going to come in and start for you for sure, but the Bengals are looking pretty good in the cornerback room. With First No Fear also coming in saying AJ Terrell needs to have a similar to 2021 season in order to cement himself as a top 10 cornerback 1 year wonder. I mean, the careers of a lot of these players are so short that 1 year wonder, sometimes you want to put stock in it. And the tape speaks for itself. Now, if he has an injured year, that's one thing. But I think if you look at the list of cornerbacks, I'd rather go with the 1 year wonder than somebody who has had 10 years is going to be 34 years old. I'm taking the young guy who's had the 1 year that's ascending versus the old guy who will fall off like that.
And I just think that every single player is 1 year away from coming off a list. So right now he played as a top 10 cornerback in the NFL and he's 23 years old. So you put him on the list now. Will he play his way off of that? There is no cementing anywhere unless you were talking history. You're 1 year away from being off any list, depending on how you play that next year. So, again, I don't believe in cementing, stamping it in there. Will he become a fixture on this list year after year? We'll see. We'll see. But I like the trajectory. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in says, good mornings, Nick and Scott. Let's ride. And I don't quite get this one. Can't wait to hear food vendors get their dues. FUD vendors. I don't get that one.
God bless you, FUD vendors. I don't know.
Okay. Shut your eyes and phonetically. FUD vendors, fun vendor. Nope. I still don't get it. Get their dues. Go Broncos. Let's ride. So help us out with that one, Gary. Appreciate the stars. We'll hit you up on that one.
The FUD vendors. Interesting. I don't know. Dallas Kelly. Good morning, Broncos country. Just getting into the car. Glad to have you with me on the way to work. Yeah, be careful. Drive safe. And let's ride.
Hey, that's why we started this, Dallas. Was like, you know what? We could be a drive time show for folks in Broncos country to come in and, people like you have helped make this show. Well, we're working on 1.5 years now already. So
God, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was April. So April, May, June, July, August. There's 5 months. We're into September already. So we're working on 1.5 years together, Nick. I know.
Oh, man, we're getting old quick. Leroy coming in here. Good morning, guys. Mile high salute. Check out YouTube. Anna Coyotes versus Aubrey game-winning touchdown. That might make ESPN in Texas. Must be a high school game. But what you have to give us a little more details of what happened here.
Oh, there it is. We'll search. Yeah, I'll do a search. We'll check it out. So appreciate the heads up.
Clee saying, imagine Russ opens the season with 7 touchdowns versus his old team. Hashtag or good vibes coming in there. Just heck, no injuries and a win. We'll take that. And I say that as somebody who is complaining about Iowa with no major injuries and a win. Maybe a little bit better than that. Mark Schrader coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Good morning to you, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Dakota Whitehouse. Why, hello again. Why, hello, Dakota. Peter Middleton. Good to see you. Good evening from Cambodia. BBY had me there. Yep. Jai Alexander. Definitely wanted to somebody we want to talk about. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. A FUD vendor.
Good morning, Nick and Scott. Can't wait to hear fear, uncertainty, doubt vendors get their dues. Okay.
I guess that means that's somebody like me who's trepidatious of crowning anybody. Maybe I'm going to get my dues because the Broncos are going to look better than maybe even I am making them up to be, which would be great. So I don't know. Crap on me. And Leroy coming in saying a hook and lateral play with 6 seconds left on the clock on their own 15-yard line. Awesome.
That's one of those. It's almost that it works. You're as excited that it won the game is just kind of a bonus, when you pull something like that off. So that's cool. Is this the one where I go downfield and act like I'm lost? Varsity Blues,
barking like a dog. That's one of my favorites too. He's like, what the hell? Leroy coming in again saying, do you guys think we need more depth at all positions? Who do you have in mind? I say go for Blake Martinez at linebacker. I think the Broncos already went the veteran linebacker route. The one thing I will say though about Blake Martinez, there's a Broncos coaching staff connection here. Blake Martinez was a very Josie Jewell-esque linebacker for the Packers for a number of years. Drafted, I think, in the 5th round out of Stanford. Limited, but makes a lot of tackles within the box. I think Josie's a better athlete and a better coverage player even. But Blake Martinez had his big statistical years underneath Broncos defensive advisor Dom Capers with the Green Bay Packers. So I guess there's certainly a possibility here. I think the Broncos maybe already went the veteran linebacker route, and it did not work out very well with Joe Schobert. But if they can get him in here on veteran men, I don't think there's very much harm into doing that. But maybe they like Justin Strnad more than bringing in Blake Martinez with the special teams ability. The big thing with bringing in Blake Martinez, he's probably not giving you a lick on special teams, which probably matters for your 3rd and 4th linebacker spot.
Yeah, and didn't play a whole lot last year. Is he coming off an injury?
He's coming off an injury.
90 total snaps or so. 17 tackles. He didn't have a big year for a bad team last year. I'm not sure how much he's going to help this one.
Definitely injured. But as far as depth goes, I talked about it earlier. I'm still concerned about the defensive line. You have 2 rookies who looked okay, but let's be real. They're day 3 rookies on a position that typically takes 3 years to get that grown man strength to last in the NFL. And Owazarike and Henningsen, and then Purcell, who has not looked very good the last 2 years and is a year older. So I'm pulling for Purcell because, man, it sounds like just everything I've gathered and seen from him, it sounds like he's a grade A person, but got to separate the dude from the player. I don't want to be biased in that regard. And I have questions about Purcell. Also, think Deshaun Williams as a starter makes me a little bit concerned as well. I think he's a very, very good first guy off the bench who you can rotate in different spots. But being a starter on the defensive line, it's kind of the same conversation I had the last few seasons with Malik Reed. It's like, oh, Malik Reed starting, not great. Malik Reed is one of your primary backup edge rushers. Hallelujah. That means you're really healthy in that room. So
that said, Nick, if we rewind us back a couple of months, we almost had McTelvin Agim penciled into the starting lineup. At one point, I remember that was who's probably going to start in this spot. Now he's not even on the active roster. So in theory, Draymond, DJ, Deshaun Williams, okay. And then your backups, again, you mentioned some low draft picks on the ends with Mike Purcell in the middle, but with Owazarike and Henningsen, I do feel better about their ability to hold up against a rush. You've heard me say it a zillion times that they just need to be able to do a job and let your linebackers run free and roam free. I think they can do that. I feel like they're going to hold up against a double team. They're going to hold their ground a lot better. Now, I'm not expecting anything moving forward from them. If anything you get from that is a bonus. But as long as they're not getting blown out of there, then you're okay. You're okay. So I feel a lot better about the first and second team than I did 2 weeks ago. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. The interior defensive line, I'm still concerned about, especially because even the preseason games that we've seen, I guess, besides the Bills game where they just absolutely beat the living heck out of you.
That was your tryout for, was it Jonathan Harrison and McTelvin Agim? Like, no, I can't. Yep, I cannot go to war with these guys. And it was. I've always said, what do you know? You're not a coach. I'm like, if it's obvious to a dummy like me, then these guys getting that are obsessing 120 hours a week over film, getting paid 7 figures, I'll figure it out. I promise you.
Yeah. The other spot here where Broncos kind of made a move, I guess, to bring in some talent. Darius Phillips waving a saying Bassey, who winds up back on the Broncos practice squad. The cornerback depth, specifically on the boundary, is greatly concerning for me because of Michael Ojemudia's erratic play and injury, as well as Ronald Darby's history of injury, where he's only played 1 season in his entire career to date where he has not missed time due to injury. So boundary cornerback, that's one where you could sink the defense really quickly. I'm not even going to whisper anything happening to number 2 because that would go from a potential top 10 defense to a bottom 10 defense lickety split. But Greg Smith coming in, top of the morning to you. We got some steak and eggs for breakfast. I love it. Pancakes, milk, and some coffee. God bless you. Got to get that dairy in there as well. That's the Midwest vibes in there.
High protein for breakfast.
I typically eat a Quest bar. Free advertisement, I guess. That's not really exciting, but it's helped me keep some weight down. So Blake Martinez getting released. Yeah, we'll see. We also got, let me see who else coming in here. Dave Glassman coming in. I'm going to make my first legal bet in Kansas on our boys going all the way. Got to be at least 10-1 odds. good luck to you, man. That would be amazing. I have not made any massive bets like that. I think if there's any bets to make next week, bet the under versus Iowa State. But other than that, I'm not sure.
Is it 17?
I don't know. And Iowa's favored. They say the biggest improvement you make is from week 1 to week 2 in college football, but my God, it was against an FCS team. And no disrespect to South Dakota State. I think they went to the FCS championship game last year. They sent 3 guys to the NFL in the draft. I mean, that's a not North Dakota State level program, but they're good. But woof.
I wonder with the transfer rules and stuff, are we going to see less players moving down a level and coming back up? You know what I mean? You know, there's always development players, but you used to see guys that would drop down out of Division 1 and they could play right away if they drop down a division. Now you can pretty much play right away if you transfer, period. So I wonder if that's going to end up hurting some of the next level programs. Food for thought.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, gosh, I feel like Iowa needs wide receivers. They should be poaching some MAC schools or FCS teams constantly. Kirk Ferentz, what year is it? We got Mario coming in here saying good morning from Boise, Idaho. Pretty close over here. Go Broncos? ×2? Do you think we will score a touchdown in the first quarter this year? More than a field goal? We need to show the league we can score touchdowns. I definitely think it's possible. I wouldn't be shocked, though, to see the Broncos kind of come in and get their feet. The thing is, and this is just me, and maybe Nathaniel Hackett's different. Maybe I'm just so jaded by defense first with the offense protecting the defense. But I don't respect, for the most part, the Seahawks offense enough to feel like I have to go balls to the wall and put ourselves in a nervous situation or a precarious situation to score a touchdown in the first quarter. I think I'd almost rather come in and get those body blows in early, punch them in the gut repeatedly with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon and that ground game before feeling like we have to score a touchdown. That doesn't mean you won't score a touchdown, but I'm thinking the long game and then hopefully softening them up, making their ribs a little bruised as we start the second half. And that's when those cuts or shots to the chest will become full-on body blows and knockout punches.
Mario, yes. I think you'll score a touchdown in the first quarter because I think you can do all those things that Nick are saying and still punch it in. Yeah. I think you can lean heavily on the running game and still work your way down the field and score a touchdown. I think you'll be a little bit more aggressive in the red zone instead of, overly conservative or, meek. So, yes, I think you can get a touchdown in the first quarter. So it might be on the second drive. But you get two Russell Wilson with 2 possessions in the first quarter. One of them's a touchdown.
Let's let one of them be a pick 6. That'd be great too, or a strip sack or something. That'd be some fireworks here. Or help Montreal Washington special teams touchdown. There we go. Glenn Hare coming in saying, "Morning guys. Ended up with Russ and Judy in my fantasy draft yesterday. Here's to hoping for a solid 1-2 punch on it from our Broncos and for my fantasy team. If it's PPR, I think you got a good chance there for some good plays from Judy. I think Judy's going to be a high volume player. I'm curious to see the depth of target for Judy this year in comparison to KJ Hamler and the rest of them, but will be fun. Should be a good one. I typically try to avoid Broncos players like the plague because I feel like I'm biased towards them. And also sometimes I'm in leagues with Broncos fans, so they tend to go way earlier than they probably should given the league averages. But the years that I've won a lot of leagues was the years, drafting Noshan Marino or CJ Anderson or Peyton Manning in 2012 and getting some serious money from those ones. That was a good time.
See, I'm a curse, so I always went after Saints players. No. Again, it's tough. You feel like I don't like taking players from my own teams just because you can get beat twice. It's like, okay, we lost. They had a bad game and it screwed my fantasy team too. Damn it. So I like to hedge. I like to hedge on that type of thing. But again, I've picked Jerry Jeudy as my breakout player this year as far as, who's ready to take that next step on a national stage, become more of a national name. Again, a first-round draft pick out of Alabama. People know the name Jerry Jeudy, but he's been quiet for the first 2 years compared to, guys like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. So we'll see. We'll see if Jerry Jeudy can make that step. I think he can in year 3. He's still super young, and he's going to be the first option on extended plays. I believe that.
I hope you end up being right on that one. We'll see. KJ Hamler's also an option there. Don't think it'll be a tight end. Maybe even a dump off to the running backs, but hoping for a good year from Jeudy because he needs it. The Broncos need it. He's the one who's on not bust watch, but bleep or get off the pot watch for me.
Are you gonna get your option picked up or not?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is probably in the neighborhood of 8 figures.
Yep, 100%. We got Zebulon coming in saying, I got Javonte and Sutton in one league and Russ and Judy in another. Hopefully they all crush it. Hopefully they all crush it and stay healthy. Lawrence Rivera coming in saying, gentlemen, woohoo. And it's time. So, yes, it is time. Good to see you, Lawrence. Thank you for the stars, ? But we appreciate you. Also, we got Glenn Harris saying, hoping we just score a massive amount of points and have a top 10 offense with Hackett calling the plays. I will accept top 12 offense. It doesn't have to be top 10. Well, it'll be eons better than it has been. And I think it's just going to look, things are going to look easier for Broncos country. And God, it used to just be excruciating every single yard or play you had to claw and fight and bite for. And now there's going to be chunk plays where like that guy's wide open. God, why isn't everybody doing this? So, and I'm coping right now because of what I saw from the Iowa game on Saturday. So they better have at least a top third offense in the league this year.
Nick, I like to use a basketball reference when the games were close. Once a team got the lead, then they'd kind of chew it out. They'd slow it down. But when the games were close, I said it was like, even when the Broncos scored, it was like watching a half-court team go down, run down the clock to the last minute, and then make a shot at the end. It felt like every single basket was work. And the other team just runs the ball right down and gets a layup. You're like, man, so again, the offense, you've got multiple ways to win this year, hopefully. Again, last year, the offense played not to lose. The defense played not to lose. And the special teams was losing. So it was dull. It wasn't just bad. It was boring. That's just a really bad combination for a football team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, I'm hoping that those days are behind us in Broncos country. I need it. Glenn also coming in saying, hoping this one, he said snag KJ in all my leagues because he's a huge sleeper. Yeah, I mean, God, if one of the Broncos, knock on wood, but if one of the top 2 receivers go down, KJ is a huge get. DeAndre Weatherspoon coming in saying, good morning, guys. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's ride. And I love the Broncos are being doubted and flying under the radar. Underdog rule. I saw Peter King pick Denver to miss the playoffs. It's just, that's where they're at right now, guys. Everybody's in a wait and see mode with Denver. I don't think it's full on disrespect. Anybody who's saying Denver is going all the way might be drinking too much Kool-Aid. Anybody who thinks they're worse than the Raiders, I think, is drinking the other kind of Kool-Aid. So I think third place probably is where the national pundits are going to fall on them right now until proven otherwise. There's just too many question marks surrounding the Broncos to be all in on them unless you are trying to, get a soundbite. In my opinion, I think the Broncos have a chance to finish first, but if, gun to my head right now, I'd probably pick, for safety reasons, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. But that Broncos team, high variance. They could click or they could fall apart, especially with the questions you have on some of the depth areas on defense.
And you could finish third and be 11-6 and one of the favorites entering the tournament, so that's okay. Again, it's peaking at the right time, being healthy at the right time, and winning the games you should win and splitting the games that are close. You do that, you're looking at 11-6 at worst.
Yep. 100%. So we'll see how it plays out. We got a question coming in here from Nick Deegan saying Deontay Spencer has to be the worst returner of all time. There are worse returners for sure. But he was definitely a disappointing player, but I think he made a Pro Bowl as a returner, just kind of poking fun at the Pro Bowl there. But Montreal Washington looks like he's going to be a good returner for us. And we'll see who's the kickoff guy full term when that time happens. There's going to be so many just kickoffs booted out of the back of the end zone, though, that more procedural than anything with the kickoff return player. Zebulon coming in saying, do you guys think KJ can really have much of an impact on the offense coming off an ACL? Want to see it, but I definitely think it's possible. He went out there, he looked wide open and pretty good in that Minnesota game. I think he's going to be better as every game goes on. So yeah, I think he can have an impact. He's still probably the fastest player on the Broncos team, and Russell Wilson really likes to hunt for big plays. KJ Hamler's a big play spark plug.
Yeah, and you've mentioned before that it's not just the straight line speed that makes a difference for him. He's got some side to side. Hopefully the injuries haven't sapped his lateral mobility. We'll see, but he should be a wide receiver 3, and a wide receiver 3 in this offense should get 600 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we will see. We will see. Again, it's hard to really pick any one of the offensive weapons except the running backs because there are so many offensive weapons. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hamler, Sutton, Judy, Okwebanam, Dulcich? Okay, well, let's go to the other side. Let's drop a little deeper now. Now you got Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, free Mike Boone. So there's lots of guys in there. For me, going back to the fantasy talk, it makes anybody other than Russell Wilson a big fantasy gamble. I'd be pretty happy with the running backs, especially Javonte Williams, because even with the split, they were both like 9 and 11 in yards last year. Just need to get into the end zone a little bit more, which should happen with a little bit more aggressive play calling.
Yeah, you'd hope so. So let's get into the topic of conversation here today. The Broncos, we had Dylan Von Arx, who's not joining us for the morning shows, but he's helping with the chat in the evening shows. Coming in with that, actually first 50. I'm seeing fuchsia, purple. Ethan coming in $50. I thought you were in the UK, Ethan. What's going on? I see the dollar sign, not the pound. Saying I don't see many players in line to get a contract. Either they aren't eligible for extension or they are under a new contract. Draymond Jones definitely enough rising or resurfaces this year. Maybe Chubb is a franchise tag player if he plays well without injury. So Ethan, said a lot or less there than I will, more elegantly than I will getting into it. But yeah, 3 players highlighted on Dylan's piece here over on Mile High Huddle. You can check it out on milehighhuddle.com, saying that 3 players in line for a new contract. Bradley Chubb being the first one, saying edge rusher is the second most important behind the quarterback in the NFL. While Chubb hasn't been available for the Broncos consistently, when he's on the field, he commands much attention from the opposing offense. Going into 2020, the healthiest he's been since his rookie campaign. Chubb could produce a similar stat line to 2018. Having Gregory opposite him helps increase his chances of making game-breaking plays. Edge rusher gets paid handsomely on the open market, so Denver would be wise to lock up Chubb before his price skyrockets. Due to his injury history impacting his play on the field the last few years, a 2-year prove-it deal could be in the cards for the former top 5 draft pick, around $15 million per year. I can't see any way in heck that Bradley Chubb would accept a 2-year, $15 million per year deal right now. If anything, it's like Ethan said here. Chubb has a good year, a healthy year, and then plays on the tag next year. So the Broncos prove it again. And with how Russell Wilson's contract is set up, I think you have the room to make the tag there to make him go out there and prove it again.
Well, and he's going to have a monster year to get tagged, because right now the tag on an edge is $25 million.
Yep.
It's the average of the top 5 contracts. And taking a quick look over at Spot Rack, you're at TJ Watt at 28, Joey Bosa at 27, Myles Garrett at 25, Max Crosby 23.5, and Khalil Mack at 23.5. So just put him right in the middle of that and say 25. You're giving him Myles Garrett money if you tag him. So is it worth, if he gets off to a good start, maybe going 345 with 30 guaranteed? 25 guaranteed, something in there. Do you make that offer? I think if he's off to a good start and healthy, 7 games in or so, you might approach with that type of money. But if you give a $25 million guaranteed contract to him, he better be 15 plus sacks and he better be playing 16 games. He's going to have a huge year, which he's capable of doing. Let's take his rookie year and think that, extrapolates positively over the last 4 years. That's where he should be. Or is he just not that good? Is he not that good a player? Because to tag him, he's going to have a huge year to get a tag. Could you offer him a lesser deal? Yeah, you could. You could. Will he take it? We'll see. If he doesn't take it, I still think you'll get him for considerably less. He's not getting 25 a year on the open market.
Yeah.
His best deal for next year would be if he were to get tagged. I believe that. Maybe
not the best as far as long-term guarantees for him, but it's definitely, I could see them using, and also there's different levels of the tag.
I mean, average per year, 20. Yeah. He's not getting 25 a year.
Probably not. If he has,
you're going to pay him like Myles Garrett again. If he has 20 sacks, then you tag him and you're okay with that.
The issue isn't so much Myles Garrett's contract; it's that Myles Garrett was paid 2 off seasons ago and probably is worth a new contract. It's also before he totally exploded next year. It's kind of like Patrick Mahomes is now the 5th highest paid quarterback. He should be already ready for a new one. I know that's rough for those players, but are the teams, but is what it is. So it's more about the next guy to get paid.
Myles Garrett is still the 3rd highest paid edge is my point on that. Those guys I mentioned, you'd love to put Bradley Chubb in those names, but he's never been there. It's not like we're talking about, Cortland Sutton had one of those years where like, okay, he's on the ascendancy. You see him as being a top 5 type of wide receiver until he got hurt.
Yeah.
You know, if he goes out and has a monster year this year, okay, now I've seen it a couple times. I've seen the upside, the ceiling for this guy, and it is franchise taggable type of money.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Chubb is going to have a freaking monster year to get $25 million guaranteed next season.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. We got Dante King coming in here saying, how do you guys feel about Blake Martinez? He's a good tackler with good in the run game. Talked about it a little earlier. I think if he wants to come in for super cheap, maybe. I asked Dom Capers about it too. Dom Capers was the defensive coordinator for Blake Martinez's best years. I don't think he's better than Josie Jewell, and I don't think he offers hardly anything special teams wise. So I think it comes down to a question of who's more valuable as your fourth linebacker, third linebacker, Singleton / Stranad or Blake Martinez. And I know Blake Martinez got paid before, but guess what? Joe Schobert got paid before, and he was here for I don't think his coffee got cool by the time he was here. They poured him one, and it was still steaming by the time he was released again. So we'll see how it happens there. We got Clayton coming in. Morning, guys. Happy Labor Day. Smash that like button on the way in. Let's ride. Thank you so much, Clayton. Good to see you. And we also got Zebulon coming in with the hearts here over on Facebook. Thank you so much, Zebulon. Happy Labor Day to you. We really appreciate the support, keeping on the lights for us. Peter Middleton, which are your guys' surprise defensive and offensive players not expected to be the first team, but will become in the first team in the first 6 games? This is a tough one.
Yeah, I don't have it. I mean, Baron Browning, you know, if somebody gets hurt on the edge,
yeah,
you know, you maybe look in the secondary possibly for something like that. But it's, you know, the starting 22 is, you know, maybe on the offensive line. You know, I don't know that there is really anybody there.
Maybe you see
if
Quinn
Calvin
Miners
Anderson starts, then you don't want him finishing.
Yeah. Maybe Quinn Miners struggles and you go for a more safe guy and Graham Glasgow with better pass protection.
Or center, you know, Graham Glasgow in at center.
Yeah. The two that come to mind for me here that seem, one of them maybe seems spicy, but maybe, hey, we haven't seen him all season. Maybe he's lost a step. Nobody let this get to him because he'll come and kill me. But Kareem Jackson out there at safety, you have Caden Stearns and PJ Locke, who I thought looked pretty darn good in their second team reps. Mm-hmm. Maybe you start to see KJ get a little less slice of the pie when it comes to snaps at starting safety in favor of PJ Locke / Caden Stearns. And this one might be the most spicy here. But as far as a first team player that might get surpassed somewhat, Javonte Williams. I think that there's a chance that Melvin Gordon looks better, more competent, more consistent in this outside zone, wide zone, stretch centric running game, and that Javonte actually gets a little less piece of the pie coming forward. It's going to be a 1A, 1B situation, so I'm not really concerned about it, but I think that definitely a chance that Melvin Gordon starts to get a little bit more majority of the snaps.
Maybe Uwazurike gets microwaved and you need his size on the defensive line early off, and he ends up being the first one out instead of Deshaun Williams.
Yep.
That could be a possibility too. And Peter says Hamler, and you know, I kind of look at there's usually on depth charts there's 3 wide receivers listed, and so he's listed among the first team. So you know, I didn't necessarily include him. Is he out there 1 or 2? You know, it depends on. Cortland Sutton is 1. I don't think we're going to argue about that. Now, could he supplant Judy as far as getting more snaps? Possibly. Could come down to blocking on that one. And neither one of them are, you know, what I would consider, you know, big blockers. But you know, we ran through some names there. You know, for an underdog, I might throw a Uwazurike out there, getting microwaved his development where he just keeps stepping up. And he becomes a little bit more stout, a little bit more size, a little bit more length to play that other 3-4 end.
Yep, 100%. Alan coming in with a good one here. Healthy Gregory Dulcich versus Alberto Cuevanam. I'm really concerned about Greg Dulcich with how much time he's missed this season. If we get anything from him at all, I will be ecstatic. But we'll see. Moving on here, want to get to a few more players here from Dylan Von Arx's article. This is the guy that I'd probably pound the table for as worthy of the next extension. If I was his agent, I'd tell him to hold out, not to hold out, but not sign a contract until after the season. It's always risky though, because an injury can happen. Then you might lose a lot of guaranteed, but Draymond Jones, the next guy on Dylan's article here is the next in line to get paid. Dylan writes, Jones has been a workhorse on the defensive line for the past 3 years. Broncos country has been waiting for him to have his breakout season, and he's poised to do it finally this year. I think he's already broken out personally, but could be even a more statistically impactful year for him. While Jones' run defense still needs some improvement, his pass rush ability is where he makes his money. Interior pass rush is vital, and with Chubb and Gregory running the edges, Jones will have plenty of opportunities to feast in the middle. Broncos should hedge their bets and extend Jones before he plays at a much higher pay grade. A 3-4 year deal for $14 to $16 million per year sounds about right. I do not know what the interior defensive line market is off the top of my head right now, but Draymond Jones, I think, is one that I would love to have settled before the season even starts and get him locked up here because I think he's going to have a good season. And, man, he's a dog, too. He is just nasty. So excited to see what he can do this year.
Well, the top 20 are making 8 figures. Defensive end. Now, they're not all 3-4 ends. So, you can look in the defensive tackle in there also. But the top 20 guys in the NFL are 8 figures, are 10 million plus. And Draymond is a bargain right now. Would you consider him a top 20 defensive lineman for what he does for the Denver Broncos at 25 years old, who's now his cap hit this year is 2.8, a 2.5 base salary. He's a bargain. He's a bargain. So yeah, I think Draymond is somebody you want to start moving on, Nick.
Yeah. And looking at just the contracts here, 14 to 16 actually does look pretty good to me. Javon Hargrave, 13. DJ Reader, 13.25. Fletcher Cox, 14. JJ Watt, 14. Cam Hayward, 16.4. Grady Jarrett, 16.5. Kenny Clark, 17.5. Vita Vea, 17.75. John Allen, 18. Chris Jones, 20. Leonard Williams, 21. DeForest Buckner, 21. Aaron Donald, 31. Rightly so. He should be paid that much more than those guys. But 14 to 16 seems right. I bet you Draymond will hold out for 18 to 20 range, though.
That'd be a lot. That'd be a big bump. I was thinking, 15, somewhere in that number. The DWI goes, there you go, Nick. Now can you say, wait, what are those that it's 5 what?
Pounds.
There you go, 5 pounds. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. He says, thanks for reminding me to change my VPN. I'm like, yeah, the stealth Ethan thinks he's in Alaska with Eric Trickle. So back in the UK. Appreciate it, Ethan, as always.
Yep.
Yeah, Draymond, you want to get him. You don't want him hitting the open market if you can avoid it. A good start to the defense and to the team will help increase those vibes. But we've also seen, I've talked about it before, the capital that George Payton has with that team is as high as it will ever be, as high as it can get. When you're signing Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick to deals on a floundering team with a coach that's about to be fired and no quarterback, and you're able to get them extensions based on trust me and here's some money, and then you deliver. Okay, here's what I did. Here's what I did for you guys. You're able to then re-sign Russell Wilson to a contract extension. Hey, we're going to get this deal done. As you're making that trade, Russ, come to Denver. We'll get this deal done. They did. So far, any promise that he's made internally that we know of, the big ones anyway, he's delivered on. So fast start, defense is playing fun, exciting football, will help George Payton in negotiations because Draymond will want to stay. He'll want to keep a good thing going, or he could just be one of those guys. And frankly, he's very smart. He's very analytical. He might just say, you know what? I'm not sentimental. Let me take a look. Take the Scott Boras baseball approach and say, they never re-sign. They always become free agents is what I mean by the Scott Boras baseball approach. Is I want to see the market. Yeah, I could come back, make me an offer. I like it here. You have a really good chance, but I'm gonna hit the market. So we'll see. But I would definitely be offering him a contract based on the numbers that we've just read off, where the top 20 guys are all making 10 and he's at 2.8 coming off a rookie deal.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. I think that one makes a lot of sense. Coming in here. We also got who is it right here? We got
Dalton
Clee coming in. It was Clee first though, but saying I guess to find out about having a good quarterback will do for Draymond Jones. Not just a good quarterback, having a lead will help a lot, but also the edge rushers around him last year were not of starting quality, and the linebackers behind him were also not of starting quality. So that should help overall for him this season. Last player written here, the one that's probably the most head scratching, given his level of play. we have Dalton Reisner coming in here saying the former Kansas State standout has had his ups and downs in Dove Valley, but is an essential piece of the offensive line. Reisner's best season was in Rich Gangrello's wide zone offensive system in 2019, where zone blocking was significantly utilized. Zone blocking's been utilized in both schemes, but it's inside versus outside. So I want to add that caveat. With Nathaniel Hackett employing a similar West Coast offense, prioritizing the wide zone rushing attack, Reisner could return to form. Continuity for the offensive line is critical, almost like a brotherhood, and to mess with that chemistry can make or break your protection. Re-signing Reisner should be in consideration at about $6 to $8 million per year. It's also possible to get a discount because he's a hometown kid, but that's far from a guarantee. So yeah, Reisner needs to show it for me before I even come close to coming with that. There's multiple players on this team that I think I would come at before Dalton Reisner coming at. Reisner to me right now looks like a average league replacement player. I don't know if you need to pay him.
Yeah, 6 to 8 right now is we'll just say 7.5 puts you top 20. So you're dealing with 64 starting guards in the NFL. Is Dalton Reisner a top third guard in the NFL right now? I don't think so.
No.
He was you mentioned, I think you just used the word replacement level player last year. I want to see it, want to move on. Otherwise, do you bring in a draft choice? Some of the guys that are in there, Quentin Nelson is about getting paid about the same as Dalton Reisner. That is an anomaly. Quentin Nelson's going to move up into the 20 range as a guard. Chris Lindstrom, guard. He's in the 3 range until he gets his 5th-year option picked up. So he's already well compensated. Dalton Reisner is well compensated for who he is, and he's probably a little overpaid. Do you like him as a depth piece and you offer him a contract? Maybe, but not in the $7 million range. Not for me, Nick.
Yeah. Nope, not for me. I need to see it from him this year. And Broncos drafted Luke Wattenberg, who looked pretty good at guard in preseason. You can probably find another guy for relatively cheap. If Reisner has a turnaround this season, maybe you approach him halfway through the year, but I need to see a lot from him before I make that jump. So, Scott, any other players here before we start to wrap it up? Any other players here that stand out? You think maybe somebody the Broncos could approach for a contract renegotiation extension before the season? These are obviously 3 that were pretty high draft picks, so they're pretty well known. But there's some other players as well that I think are worth at least sniffing around on.
Yeah, what do you think about Ronald Darby? What kind of season does he have? He is under contract next year. But he's got a $3 million dead cap and a $13 million cap hit, so he's expendable. That's a $10 million savings if you waive him. So this is a club option at 13. Do you offer him, hey, we're going to pay out your $3 million guarantee as a signing bonus, and we want to put you on 2 years, but we're going to lower your cap hit to 6.5. Now, if we're talking $6.5 to $7 million for Ronald Darby, is that someone that you might think about renegotiating, or is he toast?
It's just his age and his injury history makes it concerning. If you could maybe lop on another, let's say, get his contract through 20, even adding 2 years to me makes me grit my teeth a little bit, because given his injury history and
he's 20, he'll be into his second year, he'd be 30.
Yeah. So maybe if you want to add 1 year on that, that's something you could think about. But I am very trepidatious of paying specifically the cornerback position beyond the age 30 season for anything that is not, a veteran flyer level contract, given the historical norms at the cornerback position.
Yeah, I think you're probably better off almost cutting and re-signing, but I don't know how often that works. So you might want to talk about doing, but for me, that's one that makes sense. Is he playing well? If he plays well, you'd like to have him on your team, but I don't want a 30-year-old corner at $13 million. So he'll be 29 on a $13 million deal. And I've got all the leverage. Except for, you're not going to make, it was similar to Graham Glasgow last year. I said, there's no way Glasgow plays 2022 on this contract. No way. He had a $16 million number or something like that. There's no freaking way. I'm not that adamant about Ronald Darby, but I will be shocked if he plays on a $13 million contract next year with a dead cap number of 3. That will shock me. So I expect something to be done in the next 12 months, not even 12 months, in the next 9 months with Ronald Darby.
Yeah. No, I think you are Not wrong with that one. A couple names that come to mind here that I wanted to give a shout out for before we get going. Looking at the 2023 Broncos free agents, I'm pretty sure I'm reading this correctly here. PJ Locke. I think PJ Locke is still going to be, he might be a restricted free agent next year. If that's the case, then never mind. But Jonas Griffith was already an exclusive rights free agent last offseason. He might be again. But if PJ Locke is a full on free agent next year, he's one that maybe you can approach for it would be a significant bump for him. But, like a 2-year, $7 million contract where it's like, okay, we got you locked up now and you are getting a massive bump in your pay, and you should be feeling a lot better that because right now PJ Locke is making $895,000, so getting him up to $7 million over 2 years might be big for him. So that's one that comes to mind. The other one here, and this is kind of a tricksy one in my opinion, but Garrett Bowles. Garrett Bowles' contract is, let me pull it up right now, but Garrett Bowles' contract is coming up to a situation where it starts to balloon pretty good, but his guaranteed money drops a lot. And thank you, Ethan. Locke is a restricted free agent next year. So never mind on that one. I was looking at it. I was like, is that what he's playing on right now? Or is that what he's at next year? So obviously that's what he could be next year. So never mind on that one. But Garrett Bowles' contract, 2023, the Broncos can save themselves, it looks like 14 million next year. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, the Broncos can save themselves. Here we go. Yeah, about 14 million next year. Moving on from him with the dead cap split up. If they wait until after June 1st, dead cap of 4 million and 4 million with only 2 years left on his deal. That to me sounds like a deal that is ripe for renegotiation. Maybe adding a year or two on there, bumping up some of the guarantees, and maybe smoothing some of the cap hits for next season, where his cap hit next year is about 18 million, then jumps up to 20 million. I think you can raise some guarantees while lowering the cap hit a bit if you want, and then pushing some of that extra money to the pot next year for 2023 while giving Garrett more guarantees and just safety long term.
And Ethan says no on Ronald Darby is likely a cap cut next year, save 10 million. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't see him playing on that contract. But if you can knock it down to 6 or 7 and he's still a solid plus level corner, you want that on your team. You want a solid plus level corner. So I guess it depends on $7 million for a starting cornerback isn't too much money if he's playing well. So, can you move that to 2 years and knock your cap number down, from 13 down to 6 or 7? You'll be pretty happy with that. Now, I mentioned in the same breath was Graham Glasgow. Obviously, again, I mentioned it last year. I'll say it again this year. His cap hit next year is 14. His dead cap number is 3. He's toast. That contract is toast. There is no way, no how he's playing on a $14 million contract next year. No way. Not with a $3 million cap hit. However, do I keep him around as a backup at 5, or is he just gone and I eat the $3 million? Because, he can sit out and take his 3. He's already getting compensated $3 million for next year. He doesn't even have to play. So I have to make it worth his while also. Or do I just cut him? I save, what did I just say? 14 versus 3, save $11 million on the cap, and thank you. I think that's what's going to happen with Graham Glasgow.
Yeah, certainly possible. It does sound like Glasgow is very well liked in the Broncos locker room as a veteran presence. Maybe you can keep him around for less than that, just to be a dude around here. Who knows where he's at in his life and what he's comfortable with. But I think that's maybe one where you do approach him with that kind of thing first. But who knows?
So Scott, took a pay cut because he knew he was over. I mean, he wasn't worth what he was getting paid, so he was ripe for a cut. We can waive you, or we can renegotiate. Okay, let's renegotiate, and he did. He's still rich. He's made a ton of money off that initial contract, but is he worth $5 million to keep around? Say, we're going to renegotiate. We're going to knock your base down to 2, and you're getting your 3 from your previous. Your total compensation for 2023 is going to be $5 million. Otherwise, we're going to cut you, and thank you for everything. But there's no way, no how Garrett Bowles is playing on that contract. I'm sorry, Graham Glasgow is playing on that contract next year.
Yeah. Be curious. But the Garrett Bowles is the one that really stands out to me as far as being ripe for renegotiation, given how the contract balloons, given the money the Broncos have, that they can pay him a bonus up front so he can get that cash and do some cap wizardry to create some space and move some money around. So and Ethan coming in saying, I thought Bull's contract was ripe for restructure this year, but definitely next year. Yeah, definitely. I think Draymond Jones first and then the Bulls restructure. Those would be my 1 and 2 priority internally. Externally, we'll have all season to kind of figure out where this roster is, who becomes available, and what the big needs become. Maybe it's right tackle like we're screaming. Maybe it's another cornerback opposite Surtain while he's still relatively cost controlled, even though he's a top 10 pick, but relatively cost control. So we'll see. But Scott, we got to start wrapping on up here. It's approaching 8:30 Mountain Time, and I got to get in and do some work here today and do some cleaning because I've been gone enjoying myself all week.
You're allowed to do that every so often. Do the same. So, we've got a week. I asked this to Zach yesterday. Would you rather do you like the Monday night spotlight, or do you feel like, man, week 1, this is torture to have to wait this long?
I just love NFL football so much that I'm fine waiting because there's going to be plenty of good games to watch the whole time. I'm not, shout out to Ernie Mays, but I'm not Ernie Mays where like every other NFL team out there, I'm like hissing and like putting up like a crucifix at them. I'm going to be just ecstatic to watch NFL football in general. And honestly, sometimes it's less painful to watch your team. Again, I'm very jaded by this Iowa game.
All the neutrals. Sometimes it's more fun to be a neutral and just watching football.
Good game. Yep.
I never understood that you go to games and when the other team runs out on the field booing them, you're like, well, who the hell are we going to play if they're not here? I was more like, yes, thank you for being here. Now sit down. We want to kick your asses, but we appreciate you being here. Welcome. Otherwise, it's just a big circle, anyway.
It depends on the team and the history.
Yeah.
So like if Purdue comes to Iowa this year and Jeff Braun talking a lot of crap about Iowa, definitely booing. But we'll see how it goes. And finally, coming in here before we start to get out, Kenneth coming in saying Dallas signs Jason Peters. Did we make a mistake not pursuing him? Jason Peters is only left tackle. He's not as good as Garrett Bowles at this point in his career. He was pretty poor last year. Dallas is doing this out of desperation because they don't really have an option they feel comfortable with at left tackle behind him. So
I think he's older than I am.
He's up there. Scott, you look great for 96. But
no, he'll be 41 this year. So our birthdays are fairly close. He's January 22nd. I am older than Jason Peters, but he played well last year. Yeah. He especially pass blocking. And again, we talk about the difference between the strength and the quick twitch. You're plenty strong at 40 years old. He might not move laterally as well as he once did, but he's still a beast. What kind of numbers did he get? Do you know?
No idea.
But if he is left tackle only and he'd be a liability at right, then he's not going to help you that much.
Nope. Yeah, that's the I feel like there's some about Broncos country, why don't we go after Lyle Collins? Broncos coaching staff, Nathaniel Hackett really love Billy Turner. So it's probably why, but we'll find out about this right tackle spot.
We may grow to love Billy Turner too. We just haven't seen him.
It's hard to do that with his level of availability so far this
inactivity.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. But pulling for the best, like Billy Turner coming out of North Dakota State, liked him when the Broncos had him for a little bit. Said Broncos should re-sign him. The Packers paid him like really a lot of money. Like, okay, maybe not. But guys, we got to get out of here. We're going to be live again with you tomorrow morning on Broncos for Breakfast once again. Hopefully everybody has a great Labor Day, a nice relaxing Labor Day as well. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, guys, make sure that you are following us at BFB_pod. That's easy. Broncos for Breakfast, BFB_pod on Twitter, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook communities, comment on there, like the show, like the page, join in the conversations there at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. If you have a little bit of downtime this Labor Day, find us on iTunes, the Mile High Huddle podcast, Huddle Up. Either one, you should be able to find it if you search those. Scroll down, leave us a 5-star rating and review saying, I got Stockholm Syndrome from Nick and Scott because they're the only shows available and I can watch. And I guess I have to give them a 5-star rating. So we'd appreciate that. And as the ticker says underneath, please, if you're over on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. Hit the bell icon so that way you know when we go live. So that way you don't miss any shows.
Yeah, thanks to our superstars coming in, our Super Chat superstars, Gary, Kenny, Ethan. If I missed any of y'all, I apologize. Let me scroll back to the top here. Dave got us started, Dave Glassman. So appreciate y'all coming in with the stars. It's always a big help, and the super chats keeps the lights on, keeps my forehead shiny. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Don't forget a Huddle Up podcast. That's the first time I've ever done that. The Mile High Huddle podcast tonight. Chad should be back with Zach, 6 o'clock Central. Well, 6:15 Central.
Absolutely. And last thing here with Kenneth coming in, Whitworth was 42. Evan Mathis was old and worked out for us. We had a hole at right guard when we signed Evan Mathis, and he stepped in and was good at right guard. Whitworth played left tackle. I would love to have him. I would have drafted him over signing Bulls or drafting Bulls that season. Alas, you're looking for a right tackle, not a left tackle. And it's not as easy as just flipping one guy to the other, especially one that has as much weight as those older guys. I mean, if it was as easy to flip a left tackle to right tackle and they wanted to do that as well, I think Dwayne Brown would be a Denver Bronco right now. He didn't want to play right tackle. So here you are. Yeah, it is what it is. But appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow morning on another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. We're going to start peeling back the onion for this week 1 game versus the Seahawks and cover any other news that comes up between now and then. You guys have a great holiday. We appreciate you. Choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos.